Hello, Brubs. We're back with new book Arrivals number 331. And I've added a few things like this little plaque of Gemini. Obviously, it's a little vintage trinket. I always collect horoscope things. Place them on my wall. I got this clown. I guess it's a fucking chalk drawing. Maybe a watercolor. Who knows? It says it was by Ben Curtis. 3/5/2004. Then I also got this great speeches of the 20th century for $2. And I've been looking for my CD that has the Joseph McCarthy address to the Chicago Irish Fellowship, where he says, "Traitors are not gentlemen, my good friends. They don't understand being treated as gentlemen." And I couldn't find it anywhere, but I also thought it said communist. So. But it's sealed, so now I have it if I need it. All right, let's get to this. The Prince of Paradise by John Glatt. He lived a glamorous life and died a gruesome death. The true story of a hotel heir, his seductive wife, and a ruthless murder. Ben Novak Jr. was born into a hotel empire, Miami's lavish Fontainebleau, but his luxurious, celebrity-studded lifestyle would ironically end in another hotel room where the police found him bound up in duct tape, beaten to death. 7 years earlier, police found Novak in an eerily similar situation when his ex-stripper wife, Narcy, duct taped him to a chair for 24 hours and robbed him, claiming it was a sex game. He never pressed charges. They should have. 7 days of rage, the deadly crime spree of the Craigslist killer. In the course of one blood-soaked week, bright young medical student Philip Markoff shattered the lives of innocents. The imminent murder trial of Philip Markoff will bring to light the many mysteries behind the secret life and unconscionable acts of the brilliant and well-liked Boston University medical student who came to be known as the Craigslist Killer. How did he conceal his dark side to all who knew him, even his sweet and trusting fiancée? If found guilty of a chain of violent crimes over the course of 1 week in 2009, including the murder of Manhattan model and masseuse Jalissa Brisman in Boston luxury hotel, what was his motivation? Why did he allegedly use Craigslist? Well, we might as well stick to the true crime. Prisoner 1167, The Madman Who Was Jack the Ripper by James Tully, which is interesting because I also found Tully's other book, The Crimes of Charlotte Bronte, which was a novel. I thought that was weird that I found them within a half hour of each other at different places. Over a century has passed since the infamous Whitechapel murders, and since then many theories have been put forward as to who was Jack the Ripper. Now, after 30 years of painstaking research, James Tully reveals what he believes to be the identity of the world's most notorious serial killer, James Kelly. Didn't somebody claim they had his DNA? But then they said also that it wasn't sure. So I'm not really sure if the Jack the Ripper case has been solved or just people think they've solved it to sell books. Nice split in the spine there. Fugitive Days by Bill Ayers. Isn't he the communist that Obama follows? Bill Ayers was born into privilege and is today a highly respected educator and community activist. Well, there you go. Holmes, the serial killer, in his own words, by Herman Mudgett, better known as H.H. Holmes. And H.H. Holmes was the guy who got, I think, like 100 people to come to his hotel, and he put them in like dungeons and shit where he had concealed torture rooms and stuff like that. Awaiting trial for insurance fraud, H.H. Holmes writes his memoir, while investigator Frank Geyer gathers details of his crimes. Then Geyer turns up evidence that Holmes's crimes are more serious than anyone had imagined. Holmes may have killed more than 20 victims. All right, maybe not hundreds, 20. This collection of source materials reveals a sociopath's attempt to divert attention from his crimes, then admit to them, and finally to cast doubt on everything he's ever said. Probably add this to my read list for this channel. H. Holmes. Brand Luther. How an unheralded monk turned his small town into a center of publishing, made himself the most famous man in Europe, and started the Protestant Revolution, or Reformation, pardon. Andrew Pettigrew. I already have this book, but I didn't have the hardcover, so I actually paid $2, which is outrageous price for me to pay for a used book, but once in a while I shall do it. There he is, Frederick the Wise. Doesn't look so wise, looks like a fucking dullard. A small town in Germantown. Wittenberg. Rotten Reviews, a literary companion, edited by Bill Henderson. Let's see a couple reviews. The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan, 1963. It is a pity that Mrs. Friedan has to fight so hard to persuade herself as well as her readers of her argument. In fact, her passion against the forces of the irrational in life quite carries her away. It is superficial to blame the culture and its handmaidens, the women's magazines, as she does, to paraphrase a famous line. The fault, dear Mrs. Friedan, is not in our culture, but in ourselves. Those are just biting remarks. Let's see if we can find a good one. The Pictures of Dorian Gray, Oscar Wilde. Unmanly, sickening, vicious, though not exactly what is called improper, and tedious. Drum Taps by Walt Whitman. Mr. Whitman's attitude seems monstrous. It is monstrous because it pretends to persuade the soul while it slights the intellect, because it pretends to gratify the feelings while it outrages the taste. Our hearts are often touched through a compromise with the artistic sense, but never in direct violation of it. Walt Whitman by Peter Bain. Incapable of true political... Jesus Christ, I can't even read. Incapable of true poetical originality, Walt... Can't do it. I can't read. Playing America's Game, Baseball, Latinos, and the Color Line by Adrian Burgos Jr. As I've stated before, there's so many baseball books out there that I only collect the ones that are more specialized, like Negro baseball. Or I'll pick up like a signed copy of a baseball book. Or a Detroit Tigers book I'll grab. But I've resorted to passing up general biographies for stuff like Negro ball and Latino baseball. Although largely ignored by historians of both baseball in general and the Negro Leagues in particular, Latinos have been a significant presence in organized baseball from the beginning. In this benchmark study on Latinos in professional baseball from the 1880s to the present, Adrian Burgos Jr. tells a compelling story of the men who negotiated the color line at every turn, passing as Spanish in the major leagues or seeking respect and acceptance in the Negro Leagues. This book I bought to sell. Fisherman's Knots, Fishing Rigs, and How to Use Them. And look, you get the ultimate knot thing inside there. How cute. Nearly 200 knots and rigs for all fresh and saltwater fishing. Knots for spinning, bait casting, trolling, and fly fishing. There he is. I mean, he's got a... Oh, he doesn't have a stash. I thought he had a stash. He's probably got one now. Is there a stash in there? I mean, if you're going to look like this guy, you got to have a fucking mustache. He also signed it. Bob McNally. Homer Road Loop Knot. Anyway, I plan on selling this one. Cheers. Pretty Little Killers. The truth behind the savage murder of Skylar Neese. by Daleen Berry and Jeffrey C. Fuller. In Pretty Little Killers, journalist Daleen Berry and investigator Jeffrey C. Fuller expand upon their New York Times bestselling ebook, The Savage Murder of Skylar Neese, to give readers even more information behind one of the most horrific murders of our time. With more than 100 pages of new material, Pretty Little Killers shares the latest theories and answers the questions that have left many people baffled. Hello, Bob. Are you still here, Tai Tai? How was my day today? My day's fucking great. Get to go to work in an hour. Can't wait, bruv. I can't wait. How did she get killed? Who was this chick? After killer Sheila Eddy was sentenced to life in prison and Rachel Schoaf was sentenced to 30 years, family, friends, investigators, and other sources reveal the facts readers would have learned if the case had gone to trial, including specific details drawn from Rachel's confession. Well, how did they kill her? They just say she's dead, but no one. Berry and Fuller examine all the evidence, including previously unreported details about Rachel and Sheila's rumored lesbian relationship and why more than one investigator believes Skylar's murder was a thrill kill. They don't even tell the facts of it. Double Down by Tom Kakanis. This book was free, and since it has a Mylar jacket on, I grabbed it. And it just happens to turn out that this is a Michigan author. So I do collect Michigan novels, especially ones that are, I guess I do collect Elmore Leonard and what's his name too? Lauren D. Estelman. But yeah, I got it for this alone, the Mylar jacket, which is well worth the freebie. What other free books did I get from there? I don't know. Don't seem to see the others. I think I got this one was free too. Was this free? I don't know. I got 5 free books from the library, so I was pleased. Oh, this is one of the free ones. Witch Hunt: Mysteries of the Salem Witch Trials, which I believe is like a young adult version of this to make it easier so little kids can read about, hey, there's a mass murder. We did mass murder, kids. Read about this. The Queen of Hell. May 31st, 1692. In a plain Salem meeting house, a woman stands before her judges. The magistrate, we are not sure if it was John Hathorne or Jonathan Corwin, speaks with the stern, suspicious voice of the community. The accusers, girls and young women, are fervent, overexcited, just on the edge of breaking into convulsions. They are so tormented, it is as if their bones are being pulled out of their sockets. Judge Abigail Williams, who hurt you? Abigail Williams, Goody, carrier of Andover. Judge Elizabeth Hubbard, who hurt you? Goody, carrier. Judge Susanna Sheldon, who hurt you? Goody, carrier. She bites me, pinches me, and tells me she would cut my throat. If I did, do not sign her book. The accused is a poor, blah, blah, blah. Best of horror stories, weird tales that send chills down your spine. And this is like some Malaysian Indian compilation of classics. I mean, I don't even think the index shows the author. I don't even think it has an index. It just goes to A Dream of Red Hands from Bram Stoker. These must be all books or stories that are in the public domain. The Lost Ghost by Mary Eleanor Wilkins Freeman. The Japanned Box, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Look at that ghost. The Horror of the Heights by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. This guy apparently just stole a bunch of Arthur Conan Doyle books or short stories and slapped them in this book. H.P. Lovecraft, The Horror at Red Hook. Anyway, that's why I grabbed it. I don't know if was this free or 25 cents. Maybe 50 cents. I don't know how much it was. The Crimes of Charlotte Bronte, a novel. And there was speculation that Charlotte Bronte or someone killed somebody or something. But as I said, what was the other book I got? Oh, yeah, the Jack the Ripper book, written by the same author. And I found these two books at different places within a half hour. So I was like, this is a sign. I better get James Tully's book. I don't know what other books he's written. Look at this guy. He's very important. He's got a fucking cocked eye. He's got a cigarette. His hands are in weird pose. So yeah, he currently lives in Spain. Well, I think he's dead by now. What year was this? 80s? 99. He may still be alive. My name is Charles Coots, and I'm a partner in the firm of solicitors Coots, Hepplethwaite, and Larkin, which was established in 1788. Probably read this on the channel as well, but I don't really know shit about Charlotte Bronte. Degas and the Dance. I'm not even going to pick it up. It's a fat 12-pound book. You know what Degas is, but if you don't, too bad. But he did a bunch of paintings on dancing, so too lazy to pick it up. Rule Britannia by Daphne du Maurier. I have this copy. This is about my third or fourth copy, but I keep picking them up. This was $1, and it's worth about $10, shipping included. So I hope is to one day open a bookstore, and then I will have a nice selection of Daphne du Maurier, who wrote a lot of books. But anytime I see a Daphne du Maurier in a nice jacket, look at this lady. Hey, I wrote a bunch of novels. My cousin Rachel being the most famous of them, I believe. But yeah, anytime I can find a Daphne du Maurier in hardcover with a jacket, I shall get it. Asimov's science fiction, The Ossuary's Passenger. And I also did find this inside a Bible at the thrift store, so I tossed it in here when I found this. Convictions and bond forfeitures state which in court, an Ohio court of record, past, future, 1 year to 4 from 1964. What's that say? 451121. Anyways, it's a operator's license from 1962. Fred George Franz Jr., 1137 Clow, Batavia, Ohio. He was born 12/13/39. Anyway, like I said, it was inside a Bible, and when I looked through it, it fell out, so I figured I should grab it. Even though I hate Ohio, it's still a cool relic from what, 60 years ago? 63 years, 64 years ago, no, almost. Asimov Science Fiction, September, October 2020. I found another one of these at the same thrift store a few weeks back. Sold it for, I think, $10-15. So I shall do the same with this one, since it's in really good shape. If I can get $10 for a 50-cent book, that pays for basically the whole pile of books here I have. So that's the plan. Celtic Dawn by Ulick O'Connor, a portrait of the Irish literary renaissance. Dublin is the only city in the world to produce 3 Nobel Prize winners for literature. Nobel Prize winners, pardon. An indication that something remarkable was taking place, not only in the capital, but in the whole country, came with the extraordinary confluence of talent which appeared at the end of the 19th century. W.B. Yeats, George Moore, George Russell, James Joyce, John Synge, and at the center of all was the Irish Literary Theatre, founded by Yeats, Moore, and Lady Gregory, whose spirit is still alive in the Abbey Theatre in Dublin today. In a book full of warm-hearted anecdote and masterful characterization, Ulick O'Connor brings to life those characters dominating the Irish literary renaissance. The Tall Woman, a novel by Wilma Dykeman, another book I got for free. And I've seen various copies of this book, and I always want to get it, but I'm just like, I'm not wasting money on this book. But then it finally came up free, which I've learned at the one library I go to where they charge $1 per paperback. A lot of people will never buy the book, so I just wait. And eventually, like this book, a book I already have, but I didn't have a hardcover edition. Eventually, the books I want at this library become free because they need to move stuff to put out their new stuff. So I got a copy of this. The Tall Woman, a novel by Wilma Dykeman. I don't know what it's about, but I like the cover. How she's towering over everything. Upon its initial publication by Holt, Reinhardt, and Winston, a novel rich with detail and atmosphere, The Tall Woman is the pioneer woman who has made a long shadow across America in these last 3 centuries. This novel has a simple quality of human nobility that is rare and refreshing. And lastly, but not leastly, The Other by Thomas Tryon. Entranced and terrified, the reader of The Other is swept up in the life of a Connecticut country town in the 30s and in the fearful mysteries that figured 2 brilliant figures stand at the center of the narrative. The handsome young twin sons of an old and respected family, Niles and Holland Perry, complicated secretive boys, bound together in the intense fidelity of twinship. Oh, so they're twins. Nice. Anyway, I don't really want to read much about it because I do plan to read it. I think this guy died of AIDS. He was an actor, I believe, and then he became an author. And he wrote a couple books, and they were really popular, and then his star began to fade, and something happened. I can't remember. I believe he died of AIDS. So I found the other book. What's the Harvest? What's it called? Let's see what the other book. See if it lists this other book. It usually lists it up front. The Other. For my mother and father. No, it doesn't list it. It's got to be in here somewhere. His other books, but I don't see it. Maybe it's in the back. And I glossed over it. No. Anyway, I have the one book which made me interested in this book, and then I just happened across it. Where did I see it? It was when... Where was that one book? Where was it, Rob? This guy. Like I told you, it was like I saw the name James Tully. Obviously, it was on the shelf like this. So I saw James Tully, and I'm like, fuck, I just found this book. And then, nearly next to that one was this book, The Other by Tryon, on the shelf. So it was like, it was meant to be, Bubba. Meant to be. And unfortunately, this one is library bound, so it's glued to the fucking hardcover book. I'm wondering if I could use a hairdryer to get it off there. Every attempt I've done with one of those, it never works out. And then there's glue on there, and then you can't get it off, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's all, brother. I gotta go to work.